Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
Well, that's one hell of a season for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. One hell of a playoff game. Kind of like watching Hearns and Hagler go back and forth, haymakers throwing. Just a tremendous football game. So many opportunities for the Bucs to win and advance, but they could not get it done. Much to talk about, much to dissect, a lot of second guessing. But without question, you leave this Buccaneers season, if you're a Bucs fan, with a hearty, successful year. There's no question about it. There's no other way to look at it. And a great building block for the future for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good morning to you, Nick Geddes from On3 Sports. You're sporting your Buccaneers hat, your Buccaneers pride. You should be proud. The boys played well yesterday. They played hard. But, you know, it's so interesting in the playoffs. Details matter. Every single little play matters. And the Lions just made a couple more than the Bucs did, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, good morning to you. Yeah, I'm wearing the Bucs hat. I got my old Super Bowl shirt on. We're not going to the Super Bowl. It's not happening. Nope. I don't think anybody expected it, though.
No.
And that's why, you know, they lose the football game, and I don't have a sour taste in my mouth at all. Last year, I think collectively we all did.
Oh, yeah.
But the way this game went down, we talked about it on Friday, go down swinging.
Yep.
They absolutely did.
It matters how you played. Yes, you know, winning and losing is the bottom line. There's no question about it. But when you feel the way the last year ended, when you just getting stomped by the Cowboys, never had a shot, there was no flow to the season. It was just disjointed the whole way. You know, this was an incredible roller coaster of a season with the Buccaneers playing some incredible football at high levels against Green Bay, against Jacksonville, and then just absolute trash football against the Saints. I mean, there was a lot of variance all year long, and I guess sometimes that comes with, you know, the high pressure defense of Todd Bowles and a young team, quite frankly, a very young team, and a team that was new to each other, new coordinator, new quarterback. It took some time for them to find some footing. But I think you come out of this with a solid plan for the future. You know, I think a lot of Bucs fans would say, man, you know, do you want to, not that you have a choice at this point, but you say, did you want a new coach? Did you want a new young quarterback? Did you want to, you know, kind of blow it up and rebuild it? There was a sense that maybe in the middle of the season, that was the road you'd have moving forward. But I think you change your kind of roadmap now because of what happened. And you know, we're going to get into the game. We'll break it all down. We're going to hear from all the key players, and your comments are welcome. You can jump up on YouTube, on FanStream JP, on Twitter, on our Twitter feed, anywhere you can jump into comments. But to me, this was a building block moving forward. You know, Baker Mayfield is your guy. He's your guy for the next 3 to 4 years, and you see what happens. You know, you see what happens. Is he Patrick Mahomes? No. Guess what? You're not getting one. Is he Josh Allen? Nope. Guess what? You're not getting one. You know, if it was easy to go find one, you know, the Bucs could try to do it. And maybe they draft the quarterback down a couple of rounds. But I think you got a solid foundation for a team that can win on defense, can run the football. If you go out and find a center through free agency or draft one, you need a couple of pieces, I think, on the offensive line, left guard and center. But you got a nice foundation there, no question about it. You got a quarterback that, yes, Baker Mayfield has a ceiling. There's no question about it. But his floor, you know, I feel like his floor is 8-9 wins, right? Almost every year he's going to grit you out 8-9 wins. And if you work with continuity in the offense, bring back Mike Evans, Godwin's here again, K. Dotton getting better, maybe draft a tight end or get a free agent tight end, somebody who could be a little bit more dangerous. You need I think, you know, Palmer is developing as a weapon. That seems to be a great draft pick. So, but I think you need maybe another weapon in the backfield to complement Rachaad White. Defensively, you got to get an edge rusher. You got to figure out, you got to find somebody that can consistently win and put pressure on the quarterback without blitzing. That is a must. You're always going to need secondary help. You're going to need it'd be nice to find another corner. But you've got some pieces here now that you can work with, and I think you're a draft class and maybe a free agent class away from just taking it to the next level. Is that good enough to win the Super Bowl? I don't know, but I think you can see a pathway now to that. Fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Bucs are a few things away, and nobody thought this was their year to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm not even sure next year is. I'm probably looking a year after that. I think they could use another slam dunk draft class. They got their books right, and obviously they're going to spend a lot of that because Baker's coming back for sure. He made it clear yesterday that Mike is coming with him if he's coming back. Winfield, Wirfs. I mean, you're going to eat up. I think they have like $38 million in cap space. They can restructure a lot of contracts. Some other guys. Shaq Barrett probably is going to. I don't think he'll be on the team next year.
Well, if you cut him though, you got to eat $26 million. And we'll get into this a little bit more, but I think I might take it, let him play and see if he can come back off that Achilles. The first year back is never great. And obviously what's happened in his life personally has probably taken its toll as well. And, time maybe will heal a little bit of that wound. So it's a maybe. Maybe you can get a little bit out of Shaq.
But concerning yesterday, I mean, I looked at the final numbers, and if you would have told me going in, the Bucs are going to put up over 400 yards of offense, which I don't think they've done many times this year, maybe a handful of times.
Nope.
They're going to go 3 for 3 in the red zone, okay? They're going to score every time they hit the red zone. I mean, they're going to rush for, 5.9 yards a carry?
Yeah.
And Baker's going to go for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. I thought you win the game.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. The plays that needed to be made to win the game were right in front of them.
Yep.
If there's anything that you want to criticize or pick apart, the plays that they needed to make were there. And the most disheartening part of it is it was players it's the veteran players on this team.
Yeah.
Jamel Dean dropping the pick in the end zone on the first
You got to
drive.
have it. You got to
have that. I don't know how different that game turns out if he makes that play. It was a 3-point swing at the time, obviously.
Oh, it's a huge play. A huge play.
It's a huge play, but we've seen this.
Out.
We've seen this before with Jamel Dean. You called it. What did you say yesterday on Twitter? Hands of
stone strikes again.
The hands of stone for Jamel Dean. Mike Evans, who was great yesterday, except for the one play, which was the first one that came his way. Which it was a bullet by Baker, okay, but it's still a play that you expect Mike to make.
It's a play. It's a play that you've seen a lot with Mike. He just sometimes he's late getting his head around. Yeah. And he was there. He gets his head around. He catches that ball. I think he was late getting his head around, and the details, man. The details. Just that much. That's a difference between a huge first down. Yeah. You're almost in scoring area at that point. You are in scoring area with Chase.
And then
turns into a pick.
Later in the game, they got Goff down. I think it was Shaq Barrett who actually sacked Goff for a loss of 10 or something. And it was negated because of an illegal hands to the face on Carlton Davis, which was
terrible. And by the way, terrible call. I thought there was some really suspicious.
Well, that happens in every NFL game nowadays. If you're watching
the OPI early on in the game on Kate Otten, it's just the dumbest
terrible.
Thing I've ever seen.
Absolutely, he's running his route.
Yeah, Alex Anzalone forces the contact. He comes up and hits the tight end. I mean, what are you looking at? And they almost call it the same. And they almost call it in the on the touchdown to Kate Otten. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And thank God they picked that flag up because that would have been gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
But the point is, though, like I said, it's those little things. You talk about 3-4 plays every single game that decide who wins and loses. And if I go back and look at the Lions, I can't really count how many mistakes like that they made. To be honest with you, they just made enough plays. And listen, that's a good football team.
Oh, it is really
good football team. The crowd, I've never seen a playoff atmosphere like I've seen the last 2 weeks in Detroit.
Yeah,
I mean that was just different. Like the Bucs atmosphere was great on Monday. Detroit was just unreal because I mean you have people in the stands that were 80 and there was a 90-year-old man in the stands they kept showing that has never seen his Lions thrive. They were ready for it, and I think the team fed off of that. That was a tough environment for the Bucs to play in, any team to play in. And
no pre-snap penalties for the Bucs in that environment. That's incredible execution.
So I guess to wrap it up, in the full scope, I thought they showed they can hang. But they're still a little bit away from truly being a contender. But they definitely – they showed, though, compared to how they played Detroit the first time around, and then Philadelphia as well, what they did to them, they can hang with some of these big teams.
And one of the things you see as a constant theme in this league is teams, you got to work your way into it. I mean, look at the Buffalo Bills and the run they're on with Josh Allen. We'll get to all the games this weekend, right? You have to go through some disappointments before you reach the mountaintop. We saw that, back with the 49ers and the Cowboys back in the 70s. You got to get over that hump. The Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't beat the Miami Dolphins for a couple of years. You got to get over that hump. It's time and time again, teams knock on the door a couple of years, but you gotta go to the playoffs. You got to sense that disappointment. You got to understand the intensity level of the playoffs. You got to understand that only one play in the middle of the second quarter can be the difference in the game. You got to be so locked in. So here's the good news. The Bucs young players got a taste of that now. So we don't have to wait another year for them to get that fine
and by the
aging process that you need to win a Super Bowl.
And by the way, the young players that you're talking about, like when I was mentioning some of the plays they didn't make, I was talking about was veterans, the guys who won the Super Bowl on that team that didn't make those plays. The rookies, like Yaya didn't have a great day yesterday. I thought he was hurt. He's had like a shoulder thing. He did not have a great day necessarily. But Kalijah Kancey, I thought had another great day.
Yep.
Gedeke seemed like he did well over there at right tackle, like he has for most of the year. Cade Otton. Like, I mean, if the Bucs won that game, I was almost ready to say, like, hey, Cade Otton is almost like to this team what, like, Leonard Fournette was to the 2020 team.
Yeah, Cade Otton has come on.
He came on, for sure.
He's a guy you can trust now. He's a guy you can trust now. But
Rashad,
I'd still like to compliment him with, I know Payne Durham's showing up here and there, even on special teams. But I still think you need a veteran guy that can be a difference maker in there.
For sure.
For Baker, kind of a security blanket. A guy that's been there, done that. And then Cade is more of a big play guy. I think that might be a little bit of a luxury at this point, but it's something I would look at.
Oh, for sure. And then Trey Palmer, he didn't get much play, but the one play he made there on the sideline, he caught it with one hand. That was a really big play at that time in the game, which was good to see. And then, of course, Rachaad White had one of his better games as well. So the young guys who got a taste of it, I thought actually played well for the most part.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into here, listening to Baker. Just a couple other points in the game that I wanted to get to, positive and negative. The timeout at the end of the game has got to be called.
Yes.
It has to be called. I mean, I don't want to make a huge deal out of it. Your chances of doing anything there are slim and none, but that's such a Todd Bowles thing to do. Like, what are you doing? You got to make him kick the field goal or punt or take a snap or give us the ball. You have to. You just there's absolutely no sense in not making them snap the ball again. I mean, we've seen blocked field goals. There's so many things that can happen. It's a pressure situation. Somebody, the holder doesn't make the hold. I mean, anything can happen. You've got to use that timeout there.
Yeah. It's interesting because, are the Bucs' chances of winning that game still high at that point? Not exactly, but this is the playoffs. And at that point, the reality's setting in, hey, this is the final game of the season. You have that timeout in your back pocket. Listen, it's not like it's Justin Tucker on the other end. It's Michael Badgley who came onto this team at the second half of the season after they cut Riley Patterson. Looked at his numbers. He's 37 for 48 for his career from 40 to 49, so he's not automatic. I mean, anything could have happened in that moment, and then you get the ball back with 30-something seconds left, and who knows, right? You give it at the very least.
Look at the Chiefs game 2 years ago, 19 seconds left.
Right.
You don't know. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy. That is inexcusable on so many levels. And I thought, look, are you going to get beat in man with Zion when Dean goes out? Yeah, maybe, but you're going to get beat in zone. That 3rd and 14, 9 minutes left. 3rd and 14, and Bowles goes 4-man rush, runs a twist up front, no pressure, which is the key to the whole game. When Goff has no pressure, he's going to eat you up. He's going to eat you up. It's just that it's a give up. So that zone second half was give up defense. I said it all week long. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Go down swinging. And on the biggest plays, they played zone. The one touchdown in the back to Reynolds would look like zone.
I don't know if that
coverage.
I think they busted it.
And 45 was in the game, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure it was his.
Well, according to 45, he went on. This is so fitting, by the way, for Devin
Oh, yeah.
White. After the game, he's on Twitter and he's arguing with fans and
just trash. Get out of here.
know.
You should have cut him. I should have traded him at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But I said it. It was one of the biggest
by the way,
disappointments of the year.
Because I brought him up, KJ Britt, by the way, had like 9 tackles in like the first quarter. He was like
12 tackles total. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 tackles total.
He got beat in some key situations. I'm not going to lie.
Well, he got beat on the Jahmyr Gibbs little Texas route that he ran. But to be fair, I don't know how many linebackers are stopping Jahmyr Gibbs on that play.
No, 4-2. He's a 4-2-5 guy.
Jahmyr Gibbs is special. Jahmyr Gibbs is special. But KJ Britt played well. But my point with Devin is interesting. He still ended up getting 14 snaps total. He only gave you 1 tackle. He didn't do anything. And then late in the game when like they needed to stop, I found it interesting. Devin was on the field and not KJ Britt. On that last couple drives. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why is KJ so?
Yeah, maybe KJ was nicked up. Yeah. I don't know, but that whole saga this year is one of the worst parts of the Todd Bowles 23 season. The way they coddled him, the way they continue to put him in there. And it's no joke that when he was on the sidelines, when he was hurt, the Bucs went on their run. Yeah. And I'm never he never should have been a part of this team. They should have traded him at the beginning of the season, but yeah, it is what it is. And it cost you this year. No doubt about it.
It did. And by the way, you mentioned Jamel Dean. Listen, Jamel's got to make that pick for sure.
Oh, God.
But I actually thought this was actually one of Jamel's better games this year, which I think has been a rough season. And that's the unfortunate part. And listen, when he got hurt, that changed the game massively. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I thought was relatively quiet in that game. Jamel was doing a pretty good job on him. And then whenever Zion got in there, man, did Ben Johnson pick on him.
Yep.
He really did. And
I'm going to tell you this. Ben Johnson is one hell of a play call. I thought Canales called a hell of a game. I thought this was virtuoso football on both sides of the ball. But definitely Ben Johnson, he zeroed in on KJ Britt in the passing game. In the run game, I think a little bit as well, although KJ did a lot better than Devin White would have ever done. He's zero. I mean, so many of those plays, the play in the back of the end zone against the zone defense, where he's wide open. He gets Amon-Ra St. Brown on the man coverage that he gets beat on the last touchdown. Zion gets beat, but that's a perfect throw. That's a perfect throw by Goff in that situation to beat you. You just tip the cap, man. At least he's not wide open running in the back of the end zone. Easy pickings, right?
It's
you make him make a play.
It's great play design. And even on there was a 4th down too, around midfield kind of, and they run that little tight end out to block right. That was great play design, which, by the way, oh my goodness, Ryan Neal. I mean, Gerald McCoy was going off on Twitter on Ryan Neal, and it was like
that was another one.
And Gerald said it's not the angle that bothers me, it's the effort after he makes the bad angle. Like he loafed on that play. He gave you like zero effort, and then here comes Joe trying Chawinka like a bat out of hell to at least run down the field and make the play right. Ryan Neal's like just kind of walking. Yeah, he's another guy that hit just
you
like
get
Devin,
beat in coverage and then you overrun the play. You're totally out of position. You don't break down and make a tackle. And of course that was great play calling. They picked on Ryan Neal, and and Canales did a great job on the other side getting guys open in favorable matchups. Yeah,
Mike and Cam Sutton was a big mismatch all game long.
And let's just give this up. You want to talk about great football. That skinny post route to Mike that is as beautiful a football that you want to talk about a Picasso. I mean, you got to have high velo on that throw, and your timing has to be just perfect against that defense because you've got a long way to go. You got to throw that ball on a line, 20, 25 yards on a line. So that ball is high. It's not looping, but it's high, and he can high point that ball right in front of the defense. There's no defense for that. What a throw. What a catch. What timing. I mean, that's the continuity that takes us at least a season to get, right? And you want to continue that continuity moving forward. Yeah, you can bring in another quarterback, but then you got to go through a whole year of trying to get that continuity back. We'll talk about this down the line, how important continuity is, but that's number one example right there. You can know that play's coming, and they knew it was coming. You can't stop it. Not with a 6'5", 235, 40-pound receiver against a 5'11" corner, and you throw a seed like that. That's tremendous football. And there was so many of those plays, and you sit back and you say, man, what a treat it is to watch this football game. Both of these teams going at it, at the highest level. It's like Federer, Nadal at Wimbledon when they played 5 sets for 7.5 hours or whatever the hell it was. Both guys playing at the absolute top level of their games, back and forth. And that's what this game felt like to me.
Yeah.
Again, a couple of unforced errors by the Buccaneers, but the interception by Baker early on, Evans has got to have that ball. We talked about that key play. That's not on Baker.
But the
second one, that's on Baker. He forced that one, but he had to.
He had to. And it was a great play by, I think it was Barnes. And Barnes said after the game he saw that on tape. So credit to him. That was just a great play on him.
Linebackers doing film study?
What's that?
Other than Levante David?
Exactly. But yeah, listen, despite all the issues that the Bucs had where they kind of shot themselves in the foot, what I love, and this has kind of been the identity of the team, they continue to fight back. And, that's why I don't think I've ever been more proud of a Buccaneer team than I think I am of this one this year, because their backs have been against the wall at so many different points this year where they could have rolled over, and they just kept on fighting. And maybe it didn't look pretty necessarily, but they got to the fourth quarter in that game tied. Even when it went down 31-17 and we were saying, game, what happens? The offense comes right back.
Right.
Baker bakes, and they get back into it. The defense makes a stop, gives you a chance with 2 minutes left to go down the field, and obviously the interception ends it. But it's like, how much more can you really ask for, I think, at that point from this team? I was thinking about this today, like when we had Tom Brady, I don't know how you feel about this, but there was a different feeling I felt with the team. You expected to go in and win the game, which has kind of been an odd feeling. Yeah. It's like with this team, it was like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And it felt like they really had to dig deeper in a sense to get where they wanted to go. And I think you saw that all year long. And I think Baker really encapsulated that for this team. I thought he played his butt off yesterday.
Yep.
He was a big reason why the Bucs were even in that game to begin with. And I think he just solidified what we already had been saying, that he's going to be the quarterback next year and a few years beyond that.
Yep, absolutely. And he wasn't perfect yesterday. Late in the game, they had against the cover 2. Godwin was open. He missed him on that. I think it was a 3rd and 14. Same one he hit Evans on a couple of times. That's a throw you got to make. There was a throw over the middle. It was a little behind, I believe, K-Dot in the situation. That's a throw you got to make. But again, you're not going to be perfect. Jesus, no. You can't be perfect. And some of the plays, the 4th and 14 to Mike Evans, how about that play? He gets blitzed,
and that was
moves
after
up
the
in the
Godwin.
pocket.
That was after the Godwin one you're mentioning.
Right.
He just shrugs it off and comes back and throws a seed to Mike.
Yeah, just absolutely tremendous. So there's so much good in this team, and we can nitpick, and you will, we'll keep talking about this game. We'll nitpick some of those things, but in the end, you're one of the last 8 teams standing. Not many people saw that coming, and you were a quarter away from making the NFC freaking championship game.
Yeah, you were
a quarter
there.
away. You're 17-17, and I thought the next drive, a 5-play drive, then where Jahmyr Gibbs scores, it just felt like the defense just kind of went complacent, right? It just went complacent a little bit, but credit the Lions. They executed those plays. They attacked the weaknesses.
They kept the foot on the pedal. I mean, it was there were certain moments where you would expected the Lions, with that 1-2 punch, just kind of smash mouth football, run it down your throat.
Yep.
And they didn't. They just kept kind of being really aggressive. And that's the key. We talk about that word all the time. And Dan Campbell. We talked
about that last week.
Right. There isn't a more aggressive head coach in this league than Dan Campbell. And it pays off so much for them. If there's one thing about the defense that I was going to nitpick too, I was going to mention this. I know the Bucs love to rotate their defensive line, but I thought yesterday was just a little bit too much of that. Vita played less than 50% of the snaps. Greg Gaines got 27 snaps. Pat O'Connor got 12 snaps. And it felt like every time those guys were in together, there was typically a big play that followed for Detroit offensively, and the Bucs got no push up front. So I guess if there's one thing I'm going to nitpick, I thought it was too much rotation. The blitzes really didn't get home for the most part when they did bring them. And Collinsworth did a great job of showing this on the broadcast, too, of how Ben Johnson was outsmarting Bowles for a part of this game. He was using St. Brown and Laporta as decoys on the outside, and he was basically vacating the middle of the field. And what happened? Josh Reynolds wide open in the middle of the field, and some of those other guys, Jamison Williams. Yep. I mean, it really, you just have to tip your cap sometimes. These are great play callers and great players on the other team.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Ben Johnson, he's going to be head coach somewhere. So the Lions are going to have to replace him. And we saw what happened to the Eagles when you lose both of your coordinators. So as you look around the league, continuity wins. And that's why keeping Bowles and keeping Canales and keeping Baker Mayfield. I mean, do these guys, are they the best of the best? No, they're not. But continuity helps you keep building.
According to playoffs, they're one of the 4 best.
That's right. So you've got to if you keep building on this, it's going to be a successive run. And you never know, you draft a guy in the 4th round, who becomes an all-pro tight end or edge rusher or something. You got to hit on a couple of those draft picks. And I think they might have already, right? With Trey Palmer and Yaya Diaby. You don't know. But you keep building. If you get a new coach, a new quarterback and everything, you blow everything up. You got to start over again. And that's tough in this league. So just keep building on these building blocks. And this is a great foundation to go from. It's not, did they get a nice draw with the Eagles in the 1st round? Yeah, of course they did. Did they get a nice draw having a crappy NFC South? Yeah, they did. But who cares? You won the games. The other guys didn't. The Saints are at home, right? The Falcons are at home. And the Panthers are a mess. The Eagles are at home. The Cowboys are at home. All those teams, you went further than they did. Yep. And that's not, just because of good luck. You got some good draws. That's true. But you took advantage of it.
And the performances told me they belonged. That's the thing. Like they blew out the Eagles. It wasn't even close. And then against the Lions, like we just said, it was 17-17 in the 4th quarter, and you had a chance to tie it up with 2 minutes left in the game on the road in that environment. You belong. Yep. You belong.
All right, we're going to get to Baker Mayfield. We're going to get to Levante David, Chris Godwin. Todd Bowles is scheduled to speak at 10:30 live. We're going to try to take that live. Before we hit the break, I wanted to get some of the great comments in here. Buck Spaceman said when Shefty gave out the list of free agents, that basically was like there's 4 people on there that the Bucks will come back. Baker, Mike, Antoine, and Levante if he doesn't retire. Hey, listen, I think you got to bring Levante David back. We talk about a bargain. Baker Mayfield was at $4 million. You could argue the best, Antoine, of course, but Antoine is still on his rookie deal, right? Levante David played for $4 million. Baker Mayfield played for $4 million. You got $25 million performances out of all those guys. So that was a big plus. So now you got to adjust, right? You got to pay these guys now, but there's a lot of dead cap coming off. So it'll balance out. And I do think all those guys stay. Buck Spaceman also says the only thing I'm going to fault Bowles was playing Ryan Neal and Devin White, which the Lions probably were happy to see them because that's how they scored a majority of their points off those. Oh, Myers. Yeah, they attacked them. They attacked them. The weakest link. It's beautiful coaching. I'm not sure. Did Bowles have? I mean, who else was left? Merriweather was down. Right. Delaney was out there. Antoine was out there. Was there anybody left besides me? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think Neal played a single snap against Philadelphia, if I have that right.
No, I don't think he did.
And then and then in this game, I think he played 35 snaps, so he played 50% of the game.
I think most of that was in the second half after Dean went out and Merriweather was out. Not that Merriweather played a lot of snaps, but it couldn't go to Merriweather, and maybe Merriweather was ahead of Neal on the depth chart. I would hope so because Neal's awful. But they picked on him, and they executed. It's one thing to draw up a play to pick on a guy, but you got to execute the play, and they did.
If you get shook in space by Brock Wright, who has to be like the slowest tight end I've ever seen move, not to be harsh, but I think Ryan Neal might need to hang him up after that.
Yeah, okay, I would say so. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to try to get Todd Bowles on live. If not, we'll just continue with your comments and also some of the other interviews we got from yesterday. So quick break. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you were involved in an accident, if your car was totaled and you don't think you got a great settlement, you may have left some money on the table. They'll give you a free case evaluation. Just go to jeeveslawgroup.com, contact them through the website. Scott Jeeves, local dude, local attorneys here. They got a great group over there that will represent you against the big insurance companies and do a hell of a job. They get great awards, and you will be treated with that great personal attention you deserve. That's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back in 3 with Todd Bowles. Stay with us. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808. Start the new year with a new diamond from the Gold and Diamond Source. It's still engagement season. Where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? Of course, I just got mine there. I'm engaged. You should do the same thing. Let's go. Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country. A literal jewelry superstore with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. And if you have a loved one or a special person in your life who has a birthday this month, maybe you have an anniversary coming up, you can get 15% off the January birthstone, which is garnet, as in garnet and gold for all your Seminoles. Celebrate that mythical national championship. And it's the Gold and Diamond Source's 40th anniversary. For the past 40 years, they have taken pride in offering only natural diamonds formed over billions of years from the Earth's incredible forces. And gold prices are at an all-time high. Now's your chance to turn your jewelry box into a cash machine. It's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. We are brought to you by the great folks at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Get that concierge medicine set up with Chris Lugo. He's doing a fantastic job over there. Just got a bunch of different groups to sign up for his concierge medicine because people love the attention that you get. More than an hour and a half he spent with me on my blood work. So get your testosterone right, get your nutrition right, get everything, your immune system at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Get your appointment through there. All right, what do we got going here? Bowles at the podium?
Yeah, Bowles took the podium about a minute and a half ago, so I rewinded it back so it should come from the top here.
All right, let's jump on in.
I don't know if you look back on tape as actively in a final game as you would most weeks, but just what stands out to you when you look back on the way things unfolded yesterday?
We fought. I thought we made some mistakes in the fourth quarter. They got the game away from us that we normally didn't make, and we fought hard. We didn't play smart in the fourth quarter.
You elaborated that in terms of what area, not pointing a finger at players, but just what areas you view that unraveled for you?
The areas I would point out would be pointing the fingers at players.
What are you most proud of about 2020?
I guess we'll have to guess again.
Just the fight and the effort. Those guys stayed together. Proud of the coaching staff. Proud of all the departments that took care of the players. Equipment staff, trainers, nutritionists, strength staff. the building completely came together as a group. It was enjoyable to come to work every day, and everybody worked hard. Everybody worked hard to have a hand in this. Sorry we couldn't see it through, but very proud of the effort everybody put in.
Looking towards the off season, this is kind of your first off season, with some cap room and some financial flexibility after, obviously last year and your first year. What are you looking forward to? It's kind of putting your own stamp on this roster.
It's a little early right now, still getting over the game a little bit. We know we got a lot of decisions to make, some tough ones here and then some outside on the horizon. So hopefully we can get some better guys in here and continue what we've been doing and get better next year and go further.
Now, when you look at these two games against the Lions, Jared Goff wasn't affected as much as you probably would have wanted to be in terms of getting sacks and pressures. And they did throw an interception either. It was just kind of a situation on defense where try to play coverage and rush forward, didn't get enough, or if you blitz him, he's really good at picking apart one-on-one matchups.
No, we did a little of both. I mean, the biggest thing was the underneath coverage. Like I said earlier, they didn't get as much. They got out late. Going into the fourth quarter, we held them down pretty good. They started making some plays in the fourth quarter, give them a lot of credit. They got a lot of talent. Some things we didn't do as well in the fourth quarter that we did well the first three quarters. But he's a great quarterback. They have a very good football team, and the better team won yesterday.
Levante turns 34 tomorrow. Can you just speak to the level he continues to play at? If the business side worked out, would you like to have him back?
Love to have him back. He's one of my favorite players I've ever coached. Don't even look at his age. He plays timeless. He plays timeless football. He plays it the right way. He prepares the
Till he
right
breaks
way.
down, keep signing him.
The ultimate professional.
How would you characterize the season that Devin White had?
It's probably up and down. Some
Up and
injured.
down.
Up and down, like
Mostly
our
down.
season. We had some good days. We had some bad days, and I say that about a lot of guys that played that way.
We've talked a lot about the national and outside expectations of this team compared to the optimism you had in-house, but there were very real financial limitations on this season in terms of how much of the cap was devoted to old contracts, how much space and flexibility you had to add players in the spring. How does this success, winning a division, winning a single playoff game, compare to what your reasonable expectations were for this team?
As a coach and as players and competitors, you don't even look at the money. When you put a product out there, when you go to work every day, you're supposed to win. That's how I'm built anyway. That's how we're built as a team. Regardless of how much money you're making, you're supposed to do the best job you can coaching. They're supposed to do the best job they can playing. And we figured if we did that, we'd give ourselves a chance. And we gave ourselves a chance without even looking at all that. I understand in hindsight that may play a role in everything, but that's not how we looked at the season. and we played that way. We played that way and prepared that way, and that's why we probably got as far as we've gotten. So I don't really look at that. That kind of takes care of itself. We understood going in what it would be, but that wasn't an excuse for us to be bad.
Jay Britt played 64 snaps yesterday. Has he earned the right to start next year?
It's too early for that. I think he played well. There's definitely a place for him next year, and we'll probably get into that as we go into the spring, but we like him.
Todd, you and Jason Light these last 2 years, the drafts that you've
Love KJ Britt.
You've found 10 starters with Trey Palmer as your number 3 receiver. How important is this upcoming draft going to be to find some more impactful players that can really help take this team to the next level, considering you're such a homegrown team when you're drafting?
It's important every year. You're going to lose some free agents. You're going to lose some to injury, some to retirement. So you're going to have 15 to 18 new guys every year. So the draft is, you need to get half of that right, at least to have about 6 or 7 guys that's going to help contribute. And I think the scouting staff does a great job of identifying talent that fits us, that are our type of players, and bringing them in here. We know what to expect as coaches and how to use them, and we make that work as a group, And we make that work as a group. There's a great chemistry that goes on upstairs between the scouting staff and the coaching staff, that we get the right players that fit our system that help us win.
You spoke about Levante. You spoke about KJ Britt. Does Devin White play his last snap with the Bucs?
I don't know. He's a free agent from a business standpoint. I love Devin to death. From a free agent standpoint, I know it's a business and things have to be out there, but we'll work together and work some things out, and hopefully we can come out with something.
Based on the season Mayfield just had,
How much in demand do you think he would be if he hits the free agent market?
It's a good question. I'm pretty sure he'd be in demand. I don't know to what aspect he'll be in demand. Obviously, the money plays a lot of part in free agency, and loyalty plays a lot of part in free agency, and actually who wants you and where you can go and what you can afford plays a lot, and how you see yourself in certain systems. So it'll be a tricky thing. He was great here. We love him to death. Hopefully it works out for us.
As far as on your side of the ball, who do you think was the most improved this year, and who do you think kind of just surprised you?
I don't know if anybody surprised me. Most improved can go before Mike Green got hurt. He was playing good football. I thought Logan Hall came a good long way. Zion McCullum will probably win that as far as most improved from last year to this year. The versatility he showed, the toughness he showed, as mild-mannered as he is off the field. He plays like a rocket when he's on the field. Really loved what he did this year.
I know you still got a lot of evaluation you're going to do, but you have faced some of the best teams in the NFL. Just as far as right now, what are some areas you would like to see your team get better in?
We got to get better at everything. You know, coaching-wise, you want to get better at situational football all the way around.
Yes.
Defensively, I know for sure third downs we got to get better at. We used to be good in 2 minute. We gave up some 2-minute plays. We can look back and point at a myriad of things. We'd like to get the running game even better than it was. It got better, but we can get it better. You know, we like to have a better return game and special teams. There's a lot of things we can get better at.
Special
from
teams.
From a coaching standpoint, a lot of things to get better at from a teaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint. That's just coaching. That's constant football for us.
Is one of those areas takeaways, especially interceptions? You would get 13 interceptions this year, probably under the number you were trying to hit. And 9 of those came from the secondary. Is that an area that, given the volume of passes that you face every year, you'd love to see more takeaways from your secondary?
Well, given the volume, yes, but we're still top 10 in takeaways. You know, given the volume, you'd love to have them. We can catch better. I can tell you that much. Always like to get turnovers. You can never have enough. You know,
That's got to drive him nuts.
So, again, that's another area we can get better at.
Got to drive you nuts.
You made some changes on your staff, mostly on offense, on both sides of the ball. Do you have any sense in terms of when you expect to have your staff back intact, or any changes will be made?
Once they all get promotions, I expect to have them all back.
I don't think you were.
We're not firing anybody.
Game. Could you just discuss your decision to go for 2 there at the end?
That was the right call.
Final touchdown.
Yeah, because it would have put us down 6, and if we had scored again, we'd have got the extra point. If it didn't go, we had to score again. We'd go for 2 anyway to tie the ball game. So it was reasonable thinking at the time.
What do you think turned this season around, Todd, when you were 4-7? Could have went one of 2 ways, and it went the way of you end up being one of only 8 teams still in the playoffs.
Can't really put a finger on it. I just know after we lost the San Francisco game 27-20, and we knew the mistakes we made, and we were in it against a great team, we felt like we had a chance to be decent. And we felt like we were close, and we had to cut out the mistakes, and we understood the assignment. I think the veterans locked in, and the coaches did a great job of keeping the outside noise out. And we just worked on eliminating the mistakes that we were making, whether it was the penalties, whether it was
It got better.
communication. Eliminated the mistakes, and we started winning little by little, and guys started believing, and, you know, it kind of carried us to this point.
That Atlanta comeback in the fourth quarter make a big difference?
Oh, that was huge. You know, we believed we could win, and that's a big thing. I don't know, early in the year, towards the middle, that we thought we believed we could win.
That Atlanta comeback was huge. Set the table for this whole playoffs.
I understand we can come back and be in ball games and win at the end. Were from the mistakes we made early in the year when we lost, obviously, to Houston and a couple of those other teams, even Atlanta the first time. So to come back and get that drive at the end of the ball game was huge for us.
Some teams, when they're down, they just stay down and kind of allow themselves to get kicked around. What separates the teams that are able to get back up and you know, find a way to get over that the way yours did?
It's mental toughness. You know, it's mental toughness. It comes from the coaches. It comes from the vets. It comes from the players. Just mental toughness, taking your lumps, understanding and staying together. The culture and the camaraderie has to play a part in that, and you have to overcome some things to become mentally tough.
It was a long journey to find your offensive coordinator, but you found one in Dave Canales. How would you assess his coaching this season?
Thought he had a great year. I really thought he did a heck of a job coming in first time out, coming in with a new quarterback, 4 out of 5 starting offensive linemen, and putting his system in, working with what he had, with the cap money we had and dead money, not giving him too many more pieces to add. He had some pieces here, but working the way he did, getting to know these guys and figured out how to get these guys open in the pass game, how to get the run game better, and those coaches working as a whole together. Goody, Joe, Thad, Brad, all those guys, Skip did a heck of a job, and Dave was the spearhead in that, and he did a heck of a job this year for his first year out.
If he was to get a promotion, would your next OC be on the staff, or would that be another outside search?
We would have to interview that process. We got a lot of qualified guys here, and then there's some qualified guys outside, so we'll see.
When you look at the job Rashad White did, wire starter in his first year as a full-time starting running back for you.
Questions on Rashad White,
On how he was able to manage that workload.
full-time starter and managing his workload.
It was great to see him grow from a mental standpoint. He was always talented physically. Being a running back is not just carrying the football and running, trying to find daylight. He's got to know where the hole is before the hole opens. He's got to know where the blocking is. He got to know how to pick up pressures. He runs pass routes. He does a lot of things from a growth standpoint and a mental standpoint, where he was frustrated early in the first few weeks. He kind of eased into it and figured it out, and Skip did a heck of a job coaching him. And Rashad is going to be a heck of a football player. He already is, but mentally, just knowing where the holes are and playing faster and playing smarter. And he got a lot better at protecting the football, where he let a few go early in the season. And you can't say enough about its growth. You can see it as the weeks went on, as the months went on, and I'm very proud of where he is.
I think you were asked this after the game yesterday, but in the end game, after the Mayfield pick in the final 2 minutes, the Lions were taking a knee in victory formation with 12, 13 seconds left on the play clock. Is there, like, in terms of not taking your last time out, is there like a gentleman's agreement, if you don't do it on the first two like that you're just going to end the game?
It's not a gentleman's agreement. They were in field goal range. We'd have had 12 seconds calculated after using that timeout to come back from it. Then we would have been down 11 points. It's kind of pointless.
That's if they make the field goal. Golly.
You cringe, Todd, do you cringe at all?
Cringe on that.
Do you even think of Mike Evans playing in another team's jersey?
I don't even think about it. I don't like to be asked about it. I don't want to know about it, and I hope the hell that does not happen.
One more. Do folks think too big of a deal about coaches leaving those on the table? Because you're not the only one that finishes games at times where there are timeouts that you still have in your pocket.
I don't know what good is using the timeout if you can't take advantage of it.
How do you know?
Thanks.
Yeah. How do you know? Like, they got to snap the football. Remember the end of the Michigan State game a few years ago. We'll never, the pick, the kick six, of course, wasn't that situation, obviously, but you block it and run it back.
Heck, even in this game, did I have Chase McLaughlin missing a field goal in this game based on all year long where he didn't miss a single one?
Yeah. Indoors. Yeah, absolutely not. You got to take time out there. And the fact that was a consistent theme this year, him not using his timeouts well to get extra possessions, is something that they've got to work on as a coaching staff. And by the way, going for 2 is the right move there. It's highly analytical, and the percentages are somewhat in your, barely in your favor, but that's what you do. And by the way, they should have got the 2. That is defensive pass interference every day of the week. If the ball is underthrown and he doesn't turn around and the guy's trying to stop and come back and get the ball and you run through him, that is the definition of pass interference. You got to make the call.
Yeah, it should have been called.
You got to make the call.
It should have been called. I'm not sure what Collinsworth was saying on the broadcast about Mike's got to sell it more and come back.
No, I agree with that. If I couldn't really, where I was watching the game, I couldn't hear the broadcast as much.
But I just thought it was already.
He's got to sell it. You got to stop and make him run you over. Instead of falling
I just
back.
thought that it was already like DPI already.
Well, you make the mistake of actually trusting these officials to do their job, which, God forbid that ever happens. Silly you. They would actually look at the rule and make the call. No, you got to sell it, man.
I will say, like, with the 2-point call, it's one of those things where like you bang on Todd Bowles for not being aggressive, and then he gets aggressive there, and it didn't work out, and of course it becomes an easy target. I just didn't like the play call. I got no problem going for 2. I'm not a big fan of the fade. I don't like the fade at the goal line. I mean, show me the last time. I mean, I don't really see teams typically get this right, the goal line fade. It always ends up being one of those plays where it's either OPI or DPI or whatever at best, or it gets no called. Like, I don't ever see it completed. I think Dave Canales is too creative to just go to like that typical little play call. So again, it's probably nitpicking at this point because it didn't end up mattering, but I just didn't like the play call. But going for it, I mean, listen, if Bowles doesn't go for it, I'm sure there's people on the other side like, why didn't you go for it? So
there was another point too where there was a penalty on the play where Chase Edmonds gets within probably a yard of the first down, would have been 4th down at that point. I think it was in the 4th quarter, and there was a penalty on the play. Another terrible call. But yeah, in that particular point, you're going to go for it on 4th down. I would. So there, again, nitpicking, but in these situations, one play it can make the entire game. That 3rd and 14 that Amon-Ra St. Brown converts in front of Zion McCollum, that's huge. So I think Bowles, he needs to rethink that he really, you can't double down on that, which he's done many, many times. This is one of those things that I just, think Dan Campbell's calling time out there. Hell yeah, he is. Uber aggressive. You got to give your team a chance to do something, whatever. Just give him a shot.
Yeah, and I think Bowles, looking from year 1 to year 2 with the Bucs, I think he did get better at some of these situations, but still not to the level that you need. I think both those things are true, and so, it's kind of crazy. This is going to be year 7 of him as a head coach next year, and you're still asking for, like, growth on these small things, but that's kind of, it's the thing. If Todd Bowles is going to be your head coach, there's some things you're going to love, and there's just some things you're not going to like because he's not one of the top head coaches in the league. It kind of is, to a lesser extent, what it's like with Baker Mayfield. He's going to make some plays where you're like, damn, man. And he's going to check off the boxes from an intangibles, leadership, all that. And he's going to have some plays on the field where you're like, damn, what the hell were you thinking?
Yep.
But listen, but the good that he does most of the time is going to outweigh the bad. I think Todd is going to have to figure that out, how his good qualities can outweigh the bad. And I don't think you saw that enough. I think you saw that against Philadelphia clearly, but in this game, I think it was flipped there a little bit.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, I'm going to get to all the great comments that you guys have put up in the comments section. See a lot of new faces, so hang in there. If you got any comments on Todd Bowles' comments, hit those up. We'll discuss it as well. We're going to hear from Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin, Levante David, much more ahead on this Bucs loss to the Detroit Lions, 31-23. We'll get to the Bolts as well and some of the other games. Some great games this weekend to talk about. The Chiefs-Bills was another freaking classic. And what did we learn from those games that will help the Buccaneers move forward? We're brought to you by Italiano Insurance. Get that insurance checkup, folks. This is a great time to do it. Let them do all the work. Find you some savings, whether it be your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, life insurance, disability insurance, professional insurance, business insurance. You need that as well. If you started a side hustle, make sure you have business insurance or your private wealth could be at stake. 813-877-7799. Back in 3. Stay with us. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity.
at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. It will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Hey, it's a great time to buy a house and get a mortgage with American Mortgage Services. Okay, I got your attention now, but JP, rates are at 8%. That's true, but I spoke with our friend Scott Fitzgerald at AMS Tampa, and this is what smart people are doing. Rates peaked at 8% last month, but they've come down, and AMS recently locked some folks in the high sixes. Prices have also stabilized or dropped in some areas. So if you're going to eventually buy, now is the best time to get the house you want. Fitz will get you the best rate out there, shopping it around to dozens of lenders, and when rates come down in a year or so and the frenzy begins again, prices go bananas again, you will already have the pick of the litter. Then he will refinance you and keep costs at nearly zero, because that's what they do at AMS Tampa. You're back at 4% in the house you wanted while others fight the frenzy. Be smart. Stay one step ahead. Email Fitz at scott@amstampa.com, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. Scott Fitzgerald, NMLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. It's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages. It's home to the Tampa Gator Club and the Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour weekdays. $5 White Claw vodka and $5 White Claw seltzers. $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30 off their already low prices. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 o'clock with tons of specials. The fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have some swag and some ticket giveaways and more. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise. 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show as the Bucs season comes to an end, 31-23 to the Lions in the divisional round. Hell of a season for the Buccaneers. We're going to get to your comments here. We'll hear from Baker Mayfield. We'll also hear from Chris Godwin, Levante David as we roll through the rest of the broadcast. And we will also check in on the rest of the NFL. The Bolts get a tough loss yesterday, well-deserved probably, but we'll get into that as well as we work through this. We are brought to you by the Gold and Diamond Source. Valentine's Day is coming up, guys. Do not screw this up. And if you have no idea what to get her, that's okay. Just bring your money. Bring those gift cards that you got at Christmas down to the Gold and Diamond Source. They're great staff there. We'll take you under their wing. They'll get you something great. They'll wrap it up nice for you, so it's a nice presentation instead of you just bringing the Publix bag that you usually bring. So, yeah, just get her something nice. Let them wrap it up for you on Valentine's Day. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Almerton Road, always online. It's goldendiamondsource.com. All right, got a lot of comments to get to here. Let's get TJC, good morning to you, my friend. What were the spots this past weekend? It was awful across the board in every game. Yeah, the officials are just, in this game especially, it was just weird. It was just weird. I don't know. A lot of weird calls. Would have been a 49-yard field goal. Yeah, make them snap the ball at the end, for God's sakes. Is that what it would have been at the end?
I believe so.
Yeah. And if they're going to punt the football, who cares about roughing the punter? Just send 11 guys. Who cares where the ball goes? Who cares if they fake it? Send 11 guys, rough the punter, go right at him. You don't have to worry about the penalty and coming from the side. Just send everybody. See if they can block everybody. Maybe somebody comes through. Maybe it's a bad snap. Maybe he fumbles it. I mean, you got to call the timeout. There's so many things that can happen. Jeremy Lowe says, yes, Ben Johnson will be a head coach somewhere next season. Question is where? Where will he be a head coach next year? And how will the Lions bounce back?
Could be in your division. My goodness, Carolina.
Yeah.
If you're looking to get something out of Bryce Young, I'm calling that dude.
And I believe the Falcons have interviewed Harbaugh twice. They've interviewed Belichick twice. And interesting, none of those dominoes has fallen yet. Very, very interesting. And they've interviewed Ben Johnson. So if I'm from a Bucs standpoint, I want him to hire Belichick. I think that's
because then he's gonna bring in McDaniels, and you're just gonna get New England South, and probably not the version that you saw when they were winning Super Bowls. That's for sure.
Yeah, the offense goes nowhere under Belichick, which is good because they got a top 10 defense. If they built, and their defense will be good under Belichick, but it's already good. What happens to the offense? You bring in a Ben Johnson, and he gets a quarterback right. Either he drafts somebody, if they draft somebody, or get Justin Fields or whatever. Watch out. Then I'm concerned about the Falcons. And even if they hire Harbaugh, I'm okay with that. I think I don't think the next iteration of Harbaugh, unless he goes to San Diego, because
he wins everywhere he goes. At some point, it's hard to argue it, and he seems like he's just on a mission to keep just checking off everything. And there's one thing left. There's one thing left.
I could be wrong, but I just feel that he is.
Could you see Harbaugh though going to Atlanta? Let's say he goes to Atlanta and with the 8th pick, I think McCarthy declared, did he not, for the draft?
I don't know.
I believe I think JJ McCarthy declared, and could you see that Harbaugh going to Atlanta?
Go ahead.
And they completely reach and take him at 8 because he just loves him so much.
I hope so. Because guess what? You ain't handed it off 35 times in the second half in the NFL and winning the game. Your quarterback's going to have to make plays, and he has not proven that he could do it. He might be able to, but he certainly hasn't proven at all. I mean, he made some nice plays in under pressure, but he certainly didn't carry his team. He certainly didn't, McCarthy's got a lot of upside, and there's no question about it. But at my first glance is I need to see a hell of a lot more from him to sell me on him being a successful NFL quarterback. Rich Diana, thanks for joining the show. New listener, viewer. I'm a long-suffering Lion fan. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm enjoying this. Yeah, Bucs fans have felt that. No question about it.
If you're going to get beat by somebody, Detroit I can live with. And I think all of Bucs Nation will I think most of the NFL is rallying around Detroit, to be honest, right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's what happened. You hired a coach who hired some really good coordinators and a general manager in Brad Holmes, prior to Chamberlain High, who made a daring trade in trading away your franchise quarterback who you couldn't get, knowing full well that the roster had to be upgraded. The entire roster needed to be upgraded. He decided, I'm going to get 6 or 7 good players with these draft picks, surround a pretty good quarterback with that, not as good as Matt Stafford, but a younger, pretty good quarterback with more talent and with a good coaching staff, and see what happens. That's what happens. Why has Detroit been so bad for so long? Why has Chicago been so bad for so long? Because you can't get quarterback right and you can't get GM right. You can't you don't hire the right people. You don't get the quarterback right, which is a residue of not hiring the right people. You're in constant change mode, and that's why you suck for so long.
Give credit to, I don't think she gets enough credit, Sheila Ford Hamp, who took over the ownership duties. Remember, who did she hire? First hire? Dan Campbell. And Dan Campbell's who kicked it off. And Dan Campbell had no coordinator experience. None of that. But you know what he knows how to do? He knows how to lead men.
Lead men. That's what I've been talking about.
I think is probably the most important thing as an NFL head coach.
Yeah, and that's what I've been talking about through this whole cycle. People get hung up on our defensive guy, offensive guy, which one you want to get, which is Brett. And the young offensive guys are what's working. You know what's working? Great leaders of men. That's what works in the NFL. Great leaders of men. Guys that inspire your team in one way or another, whatever their style is. And Dan Campbell he is exactly what you see is what you get. He is an authentic, uber aggressive dude that doesn't accept mediocrity. He and I think that's a big reason this leadership has gotten the Lions where they are. Between himself and Brad Holmes, they have made some daring, bold plays. He coaches in a bold way, and the results are fantastic.
And in the draft, by the way, we get so caught up on need and positional value, and I'm sure I was probably part of this too, but Jahmyr Gibbs with the 12th overall pick, guess what? The Lions are not here without Jahmyr Gibbs.
No.
Because he's a special player, and they recognize that. They took that risk, and it paid off. On
that touchdown run, the cut he makes at the line of scrimmage, huge hole. Good blocking. The Lions offensive line, really, really good. And then he's one-on-one with Winfield. And, of course, if you're Antoine Winfield, he's one of the best tacklers in the game. He had no shot with that guy.
No safety has a shot there.
He's got a two-way go in the middle of the field. You got no shot because of his explosiveness. And he didn't even touch him. Couldn't even reach for the ball to punch it out. He tried at the end.
But Gibbs was too good.
Yeah, he's just too good. Tip of the cap, man. And that's I forget exactly, but Gibbs is one of those players they got with the draft pick that they got from Stafford. He's one of the extra draft picks, if I'm not mistaken. It's Gibbs. I think Hutchinson also was one of theirs, depending on how you look at the draft picks, right? They got 3 1s, a 2, I think. And the players that they have put together with that move have been, all of them have been off the charts.
If you're the Bucs, this is what kind of what you have to have as a draft class going forward. Like the Bucs have some nice hits, but Jahmyr Gibbs is special. Sam Laporta is special.
Yep.
Brian Branch is special. The Bucs need more special, I think, all over the field.
That's right. That's how, folks, you look at Super Bowl teams, you've got 5 or 6 guys that are just, I'd say 50 to 75% better than the average at their position.
Right.
They're difference makers. The quarterback, obviously, if you have a difference maker in that level, kind of takes up the 2 or 3 spaces there. It takes you that much further, but you've got to have special across the board. When the Bucs won the Super Bowl, they had special across the board. They had special at quarterback, right? They had special at offensive line. That offensive line was strong. They had special with the safety, Antoine, right? Antoine Winfield, he was special. Leonard Fournette was special in that particular year. Mike Evans was special. Godwin's was special in that particular year. Gronk was special in that particular year.
Brown.
It's, you can go on and on. You got to have those 6 to 8 guys that are just way above average over everybody else at their position. And then you got to coach them up. Then you got to get all the things to go to your way. It's hard to win a Super Bowl. This just in. It's hard to win playoff games. And the Bucs have won 4 since 2020. It was a hell of a lot more than the Cowboys and just about the entire rest of the league when you think about it from that standpoint. Mike Holcomb, good to see you, my friend, back in here. Lose the turnover battle 2-0, miss a field goal, have a horrendous dropped interception in the end zone. Pretty much sums up the reason for the loss. Absolutely. And you look at the turnovers. The turnover was an unforced error. Mike Evans has got to have that ball. And it pops up in the air, and of all people to freaking catch it.
At least don't volleyball spike it into the air.
Right, exactly.
At the very least,
that hurts you. The missed field goal, that ball was heading back to the middle, and it just kind of took a left and hits the. What are you going to do? But that's an opportunity. The horrendous dropped interception, you just can't. That's a.
And they had a couple. And they had a couple
3-point
sacks too that, first of all, they got sacked 4 times, and it's easy to look at the offensive line and go, oh, they didn't play a great game. I didn't see it that way. 3 of the sacks were just rushers who came unblocked. That looked like it was like bad.
Baker's got to see 2 of those.
Baker's got to see a couple of them, and that's one of his weaknesses. But a couple of those took you right out of field goal range because they were on 3rd downs.
Yep. Too soon to promote Canales to head coach or give Bowles another year. You're giving Bowles another year.
Yeah,
Canales is not going to get a job elsewhere. You stay the course. Am I giving Todd Bowles a 6-year extension? No. He still has much to prove. But again, continuity. Here's the thing, and you brought this up a few times as we've gone through this search here, Nick, is that you got 8 teams looking for head coaches. All right. You got, that's a lot. And 6 of those teams, right, or 8 of all the other teams have a head start on you, right? A huge head start on you. If you were going to change coaches, and even, first of all, Canales is not ready to be a head coach, in my opinion. He's not.
No, and he's only gotten 1 interview, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and I think if you, somewhat you elevate him and you fire Todd Bowles, that's a bad look for your team. It's a bad looking. I don't think that sells well in the locker room at all. No, that's a definite no. And, like I said, Todd Bowles may not be, there were points at, 1999. If you'd told me, hey, the Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl in a few years, who's going to be the head coach? I would have said Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy is going to, get us over the hump, but no. And Todd Bowles may be that Tony Dungy where he builds this team foundationally, and you get to a point where, heck, maybe he retires in 2 years. I don't know. He said he didn't want to coach till he was 70, right? So who knows what happens? Maybe you take a step back next year and, a Bowles, makes some bad calls during the game. His game management doesn't get any better. But your team is getting better. And then you take that next step. Who knows what the future holds? But I think right now, for where you're at, Todd Bowles is the guy. You keep him through this cycle. You continue to grow. You don't go give up draft picks for a coach or anything like that. You just continue to build through the draft, through free agency, through stability, through continuity, and see where it goes.
Yeah.
That was LaBuck James. Thanks for joining us. Charles Kovacic, whatever. Sorry if I butchered that. But better defense now, at least secondary than the Rams, Cowboys, etc. I don't know. The Cowboys defense is pretty good.
They just had a bad showing at the wrong time, which is very Cowboys-esque. Yeah, he brought up the secondary there. I was going to say, like, in the subject of what they can do differently, I think that some little tweaks to that secondary are needed at this point. And I heard Scott Reynolds ask the question in the press conference. They had 13 picks this year. 9 came from the secondary. 3 came from Antoine Winfield Jr. That means you got 6 from the rest of those guys on the team. I mean, whatever they are as cover corners, they just do not make plays on the football. Yeah. And I feel like that we've seen enough. I'm sure Todd mentioned it right there. We got to catch the ball better. You got to get some guys with some better ball skills back there. I think they got to tweak some things.
I would agree. Minus the wife, like a Brent Grimes type, that guy was always around the ball.
The wife.
He was always around the ball, always made plays on the ball, would give up a few plays every year, but, would come up with 8, 9, 10 interceptions. Somebody who just catches the damn ball. You could have just told me
Brian Kelly or something like that.
Didn't want you to forget that part of it. K-Dub4 says, I know we're going to get blasted for this comment. Don't think Bowles can get the Bucs over the hump as Dungy couldn't. Why would you want to keep him? Why didn't Bowles make adjustments in the defense? I think the second half is, it didn't seem like he made adjustments to me. And the adjustment that he made going to more zone defense was a bad adjustment. I think you had to stay in man. I think you had to keep coming after Goff. Yes, you probably would have given up some plays, but maybe you get that turnover. Well, maybe you get that tip ball.
The issue is that Goff is really good against the blitz.
Yeah.
But he's on the flip side of that, he's not good under pressure. So you were going to have to win by rushing 3 and rushing 4. And the Bucs have shown you all year long, they just don't have the guys to do it. And that's why looking ahead, number one need, and I think every team in the league needs one, and they're not easy to find, is you've got to get a true edge one.
Dominant
Yaya
edge
Diaby is a nice player. I do not think Yaya Diaby screams edge 1 to me. He screams edge 2 to me. Yeah. I think that's fair. Okay? Yeah. The best 2 teams the Bucs have ever put together, the 2002 team. Who was edge 1? Simeon Rice, Hall of Fame caliber player. 2020, you had prime Shaq Barrett and you had dependable Jason Pierre-Paul who could get to the quarterback, pretty much most of the time when they wanted to. This team just did not have that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And they need it. They got to go find that guy. It's look at all the teams that are advancing. Bosa, Hutchinson, right? I mean, they got that guy.
The Ravens, my goodness, they're everywhere.
they got those guys everywhere. TJC22, what can casual fans take away from this weekend? Probably because they watched all of them. No quarterback plays perfect. Every week you'll see a handful of plays missed, bad reads, etc. Yes. I mean, people want to put this Bills loss on Josh Allen. Come on now. Jesus Christ. No. Did he miss some throws? Yes. Did you see the runs here's the other thing. And you can make this case all weekend long. Look at the running of Lamar Jackson, right? Look at the running of Josh Allen. Look at the even running of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, when he needs to.
These guys make huge game-changing plays running the football. You could say what you want about Lamar and the crazy fact that nobody really wanted him in this offseason. The dude took over the game with his legs. And even the touchdown pass to Likely, that was made with his legs. Yep. I mean, it's a difference maker. Now, as Baker made a couple of good runs yesterday, but sometimes you feel like, and he's still, I think his ankle's still hurting, but there's no explosiveness in those runs. There's no.
I think it's just there's multiple ways to do it. I mean, because you just saw Goff is not taken off to run, really ever.
No,
he can just stand. He can just stand back there in the pocket. He's one of the only true pocket guys left.
Yep.
That's having this much success, but he's got great weapons around him. He's got a great O-line, and he's got a damn good coordinator. And I think that's what makes it work for him.
Yep, absolutely. But that's a difference. And talk about difference makers, it's a difference. It says, find your nucleus and build around them from a schematic standpoint and a player personnel standpoint. Yeah, what's your identity? What's your identity as a team now? You're a team that has a guy that can throw for 403 touchdowns or 300 plus when he needs to. When they give you the pass, can Baker Mayfield beat you? Yes, he can. When there's a light box, can you line up and run at him? I don't know yet. I think we need a better center and we need a better left guard. And I think center is a huge, huge need position. If we can get somebody that's in the 340, 350 range, they're not. Jason Kelce really retired? How about the show he put on? Screw Taylor Swift.
Seriously.
That was the show I wanted to see. He's jumping out of the box with his shirt off. I thought somebody put it on Twitter. It's like this reminded me of the moment where the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park realized they could go past the fence.
Literally, the
He's
way
out.
he jumped, jumped out of that box and got down with the crowd. And I'm like, the security's right there. And I thought they were going to do something. And they were just like, no, we're just going to let this. And then he hops right back up and he's like, all right, I'm going to resume. And even before the game, he's there obviously supporting his brother. And I'm assuming the Chiefs, obviously. But he's still hanging out with Bill's Mafia.
Yeah.
In the tailgates, ripping shots and stuff. How can
what
you
are you gonna do? Jason Kelce shows up at your tailgate. When he get no, you're a Chiefs fan. Get the hell out of here. No, you have a shot.
Jason Kelce has a Bills identity to him. He really does.
Yeah, he really does. Yeah, there's no question about that. Lonnie Wilkins, good morning to you. Says, Nick, did you see Royal Rumble's Superstore in Raymond James? That makes no sense to me when the event's going to be held at the Trop.
Well, Lonnie, let's use the whole raise thing here. Is it easier to get to the Trop or is it easier to get to Raymond James? So, personally, I love the fact that it's at Raymond James and I can go visit there and not go to the Trop. I'm making one trip to the Trop for this event, and that is for the event itself. And that's fine.
You go. Seems the defense, Orlando Perez, good morning to you, my friend. Seems the defense was playing zone the majority of the game, and DBs were 7 to 10 yards off when Goff was picking the defense apart. Why did Bowles kept pressuring Goff mainly with 4? I don't know. I said it all week long. You just can't fall back in zone defense against this guy. They went on a 14-play drive. The last drive was 10 plays, 89 yards. Yes, he's just going to take what you give him. You give him that zone, he's just going to dump it down, dump it over the middle, 7, 8, break a tackle, you get 12, 16, it's slow death. And yeah, could they beat you deep? They might. But go down swinging,
it really
man.
was. The third and 15 play was really the dagger, I think, for the whole thing. And
you're rushing 4, and you're it's pitch and catch, man. It's pitch and catch.
And it was so easy.
Hey, go to the marker and turn around in front of Zion McCollum, and I'll hit you.
It was so easy. I mean,
because they're not going to pressure me with 4. Right. I'm going to have a nice little pocket, and when you're ready, just turn around. I'll throw you the ball. It's too easy.
It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's one of the best route runners in football, against Zion McCollum, who he's just not quick enough out of his back pedal right now. He's just not. He's still in that development stage. I mean, it was so easy.
Well, when you're asking him to play that situation right there, if he stutters and goes, you're toast, right? And that's what you're. But if you're playing man-to-man, he's got to make a throw. If you're playing man-to-man and you're in trail technique, he's got to make a throw there. That's just too easy against that cover. It's too easy. 5 steps back, plant your foot. It's too easy. It's too easy. And you got to make him 3rd and 15. You got to make him make a play. Send 6 guys. If they dump it over short and you're trailing, and you beat me. You beat me.
I think what happened.
But that is just too easy.
Yeah, I think the whole game plan, like clearly, like I said, Goff is good against the blitz, and so it seemed like Bowles backed off from that. But listen, that's what the Bucs' strength is blitzing for the most part and getting home and stuff like that. Like that's how they thrive as a defense. So it's like almost to like game plan against Goff, they game planned against themselves. Yeah, is kind of how I viewed that.
See, TJC says, answering Orlando, because Goff eats up the blitz is terrible against pressure, aka you have to win with 3 or 4. Well, listen, like we said all week, you can blitz him, but you got to get home. You got to execute the blitz. If you blitz and they pick it up, which they did at times, then you're screwed. He's going to get you.
There was one
if you
play.
If you rush 4 and go back, he's going to get you too. Yeah. That's why the Lions win football games, folks. That's why they're so good.
There was one play on a third down. I forgot if it was in the third quarter maybe, but they sent Winfield on a blitz from the right side.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God. I mean, he was like literally this close. Yeah. And Goff was starting to rear it back, and he just missed it, and Winfield was ready to make that game-changing play. Goff was going to fumble that football. Hopefully the Bucs get on it. But Goff just stands there and, I mean, throws a rope across the middle of the field. I mean, that's a big-time throw, and it's just like that. You got to tip your cap.
But you're forcing him to make the play.
Yeah.
Right? You're forcing him. And like you said, he's this close. He gets that. He tips that ball. We may have a different game. And that's what I'm saying. You got to go down that way.
Yeah, they just
got to go down
they
that
didn't have
way.
enough of those spots.
Yeah, making them, quick, easy on 3rd and 15. It can't be that easy. It just can't. And that was such a huge play. And I think Todd Bowles is going to look at that and say, you know what? We got to be better.
Because this is 2 years now straight that Bowles has had his secondary with busted coverages, and it happened in this playoff game again. There's so many of those all year long. Guys who can't make plays on the football. I mean, I think Bowles, if he's serious about this, he's like I said, he's got to retool things back there.
Yeah, Orlando says, "Oh my God, NFL Network is all about the Lions." It was sickening. It's a great storyline. It's
not sickening to me. I think everybody loves that story.
Keep talking about the Lions and less about the Chiefs, as far as I'm concerned. Was a tough game, no question. Reload the roster, re-sign Baker, Evans, and Abe. Yeah, continuity wins in this league, folks. You can try to go, get another quarterback, get another coach, and do all this. You're chasing it, man. You get to the playoffs this many times in a row, stay the course, hit on some draft picks. Good things will happen. The ceiling, is there a ceiling on Todd Bowles? Probably. We said that, about Tony Dungy, but eventually the Super Bowl happened, right? So the one thing it almost assures you of taking a step back is a rebuild. A new rookie quarterback, elevating Kyle Trask, and letting Baker sign elsewhere. I don't think Baker's going to hold a gun to your head as far as money goes. He would be stupid to do that.
Yeah, and barring what happens with Atlanta and their quarterback situation, like we kind of mentioned, I still think you have a stranglehold on this division moving forward.
Yes, Orlando, we're in contract talks with Mike for a contract extension. Yes, that was always going to happen. They had to clear cap space and see where this season went. And listen, we love Mike Evans, but if he pulls his hamstring in Game 6 and misses most of the season, where are we on a contract extension, right? When you're up, it would be nice if you weren't up against the cap, but you spent all that money to make. Yeah, Devin White's not coming back. You spent all that money to make the Super Bowl run. So you got to pay for it, and to have a season where you pay it off and you get deep into the playoffs or at least one round in, that's a bonus, man. Yeah. Huge bonus from a macro. Here's a nugget. Shane Waldron was hired today as Chicago's OC as part of the quarterback collective, which is also where Rich Scangarello is, who is Caleb's private quarterback coach. Yeah, these are all names in the quarterback, the Elite 11, the quarterback collective, all these, where quarterbacks are identified at an early age and developed. And it's part of this, I want to say underground. But yeah, it's interesting. If Shane Waldron looks like they're going to go, and that's for the Bears, you could go one of two ways. You could get lots of different players for the pick and keep Justin Fields. But then again, his contract is going to escalate, or you go with a rookie contract, develop Caleb Williams, and you can build at other places.
I just feel like if you think Caleb Williams is this generational prospect, and maybe I don't think that, but if you think that as an organization, is Justin Fields good enough in your opinion? Because you don't know when you're going to get back here to get a chance to get a potential game-changing quarterback. And if you feel like you have one there, based on what you've seen with Justin Fields, no matter the fact that he showed some improvement this year, is it good enough to outweigh what you could get in the draft?
Well,
I just do not think so. I just don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. It's not Justin Fields. It's Justin Fields plus what you get for the number 1 pick. All right. Remember the lesson of the Lions? What we just learned, right? Like, take an experienced quarterback, which Justin is, and improving it at this point. And let's also be cognizant of the fact that they haven't really done the best job developing Justin Fields in terms of quarterback coaching and putting things around him. So I think, and you add to the fact, what are you going to get? Can I get 3 number 1s for that number 1 overall pick? Because if I can do that,
sure. But I mean, I still have a lot of draft capital if I'm Chicago.
You do.
And I can do better. I can get the better upside for quarterback, perceived at least.
Yeah.
And I reset the quarterback clock, obviously, of paying a guy. And you could still add a lot of guys around them, and you have a lot of cap space. I don't think.
And here the other thing is, what do you get for Justin? If you sell him off now, people are saying 2 2s that you could get for Justin Fields. So now so I get Caleb, rookie contract, 5 years, sell Justin and get 2 2s, which you got to hit on. 2s are, can you get a Pro Bowl player? Yep. You got to get a starter. Can you get a couple but you got to hit on them. You got to, and where is Chicago done a great job drafting? No. So either way, the Bears are in great shape. If they come out of this, you got to be a much better organization organizationally. Don't screw this up like the Panthers did. Give away all that draft capital for a sub-sized quarterback. That was moronic. Set you back years. Another one from James. Devin's biggest weakness is immaturity. We get into it with fans and Twitter proves. Absolutely. Goodbye, good riddance. And you should have taken the edge rusher instead of the inside linebacker.
Well, let's be fair here. Devin White at the time when they really needed him in 2020. I mean, come on.
Before they knew they could take advantage of him in every way, before there was enough film on him.
Am I speaking
he
out
played
of line?
well. Yeah.
Am I speaking out of line by saying Devin White maybe didn't live up to his potential, in Tampa Bay? But at the same time, he was a major, major part of a Super Bowl winning team. Therefore, that pick in the grand scheme of things is still a hit. Can I make that argument?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you get a Super Bowl and someone plays a key role. It's hard to argue it, and he played a key role, no question about it. But in the long run,
no. And listen, the Bucs,
could we have won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady without Devin White? Somebody else was playing that position. Maybe. I don't know.
He was just so good. The clutch plays
he made a lot of plays.
But listen, the KJ Britt made it easy on this team because I know Todd said it's too early, whatever. I don't care about that. No. KJ Britt, to me, has earned the right to be a starting linebacker. Now you don't have to go find one of those guys. It's not one of the more premium positions on the field necessarily, and you already have one elite guy in Levante David if he wants to continue playing.
Yeah.
So you don't have
to. You drafted Servassier Dennis,
exactly.
who you think is going to be a good player.
You don't have to spend a high draft pick now on a linebacker. He made it very easy on the Bucs.
No, you can get a guy in the 3rd or 4th round, and I think you need to get a guy. You can find a good guy in the 4th round, 3rd or 4th round
I'd
to be
wait
that
for it.
Yeah, absolutely. James says if Jamel catches and Chase doesn't miss, it's 28-26 with Bucs having the ball with 2 minutes left. Yeah, there's a lot, but when you go back, how is the game played if they don't score a field goal there? So it's hard to do, but look, you're absolutely right. They had opportunities to win this game. They were not blown out by any stretch of the imagination. The Bucs could have very easily won this game, and that's what you take from it. Edge rusher, cornerback, or center in the 1st round. Here's the thing. Can you find an elite edge rusher at 26, which is where the Bucs are picking?
Well,
you can. It's going to be tougher.
It'll be tougher. It's not impossible. Every draft class is different.
I got to look at the depth of this draft. Yeah.
Every draft class is different, but TJ Watt, he went 27.
Yeah.
Max Crosby was not a 1st-round pick. Daniil Hunter was not a 1st-round pick. Jermaine Johnson, your boy from FSU, I think he went 26 actually 2 years ago.
Yep.
So again, it's not impossible. You just have to see what the draft board.
Jared Verse may have fallen to that.
Yeah, I don't know. He played so well at the end of the year. I'm seeing a lot more buzz with him, with Dallas Turner, the kid from Bama, in the top 15 at least.
Yeah. So yeah, but I think, and I look at the center class, but centers are one of those.
Center's deep this year. Center's really deep.
Yeah, it's a need position for the Bucs. There's no question about it. If they were to pick one in the first round,
I don't think there's one. I don't think there's one in the first round, but there's a lot of value in the second and third round guys.
That's where it's where the Saints got McCoy in the second round too, I believe. So there's some value there. You trade up for one, you can. I don't. I
haven't seen the Bucs really show that they're going to do something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot. I haven't really looked at the draft that much, so I don't. But the need is there, no question about it. TJC said, "Don't let the media fool you. Everyone wanted a piece of Lamar. They just didn't want to set the market for Lamar, knowing damn well Baltimore just intended to match it." That's true. And you also don't want to, if you have a quarterback, right? You don't want to, kind of mess up his development. If you were going after and I think Atlanta might have been in that position. They still thought Desmond Ridder could play, maybe. So you don't, right? Exactly. I don't know. Bottom line is Lamar's freaking great, and Baltimore was going to match it. He's absolutely right. It was a weird situation. What else we got here? Oh, Tampa figures out how to run efficiently in a light box against too high. Look out. That's it. And I think a center is a big part of that. I think a center and an upgrade at left guard is a big part of that. Because Cody Mock showed, I think once he gets a little more, anchor in his ass, he needs to probably put on 15, 20 pounds to be, but he's athletic enough. And I think he's a good player. And Gedeke obviously had a great year. I think maybe kind of, I don't want to say flamed out at the end, but he lost some, I think, energy at the end a little bit. Still a young player, still building. His first full year, right tackle, had a hell of a year.
And for what it's worth, I mean, yesterday I think was their best overall game. They didn't run it as much. There wasn't much balance necessarily, but for the time that they ran it, I mean, there were some big holes. I mean, for Rashad yesterday, they did a good job.
Yeah, I think the offensive line was good, but it can be better. And if you have Baker at a reasonable contract, that's one of the places where you got to be better is around the offensive line. No question. Lions easily have a top 5 offensive line in the league. When your worst offensive line is Taylor Decker, you've got a really good problem. Absolutely. And they picked up the blitz. They do a tremendous job of that. They run the football well. There were times too, and it was 4th down call when they went for it on the goal line where they double teamed Cansey. And he's too light at 280 tops, 285. You got to have it. I don't know why he's in there on goal line. I know he can get around and make a move, but in goal line, short splits.
The matchup there was clearly Vita Vea versus Frank Ragnow. And Frank Ragnow I think he was an all-pro this year.
Yeah.
And he was battling his butt off. I mean, he was hurt in that game.
Yeah.
They just kept fighting. He got the best of Vita. On that goal line play, somebody mentioned it in the comments here. I don't know if you saw the clip. He basically was on his knees, and he had his arms around Vita's waist and was basically holding him the entire time. So, Craig Reynolds kind of walked in there.
Yeah.
Pretty much because there was a hold going on there.
That could be cool. Yeah. That
was not called.
If you wanted to make a case that the NFL officials wanted the Lions to win this game, and I'm not going there, but if you wanted to make the case, they gave you plenty of ammunition. They gave you plenty of ammunition.
I just think the officials did what they always do. They just can't get calls right.
Yeah, they're just awful. A couple other here before we take another break. Instead of drafting Logan Hall, we should have taken Tyler Linderbaum. That was a swing and a miss. Yeah, you can always go back and redraft.
Linderbaum went 7 spots ahead of him, though.
I think so, right? Yeah. Can they keep Evans and Godwin based on salary cap? Just curious. They can. Godwin's got one more year left on his deal.
He's an interesting. Keep an eye on what happens with Chris Godwin. I'm curious. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He's only, 27, I think, but it feels like he's had the injuries. He plays a physical brand at receiver. So I think he almost plays a little older than what he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye there on what they do with Chris Godwin.
I wouldn't pay Chris Godwin into his 30s, but I would pay him up to 30. So he's at 27 now. I think he's got 3 good years left.
I do think getting another receiver, it might be a priority at some point this offseason. I do.
I don't disagree with that. If you're in a position right now with the Buccaneers that you don't have to draft for need. I don't think you have to at this particular point. And you got some free agency money that you can work on to fill some holes, which might be your center position, right? So they've got some room to maneuver here, but you got, as always, you got to get them right. You got to get them right. All right, great commenting. Thank you, guys. If you want to jump in here, please do. You can always do that on YouTube, on Facebook, at FanStreamJP, at Nick Geddes News, at the JP Peterson Show. Wherever you put it in there, we'll try to get it up and discuss here on the show. All right, when we come back, we're going to get into the other games, another classic between the Bills and Chiefs. Who's to blame, but maybe who ought to get an attaboy in that one. We'll look at and the other games as well from this weekend. We'll give you some Bolts news as well after they lose to the Red Wings. We are brought to you by the great folks at Synovus Bank. They're the big bank with a very, very local hometown field. My good friend John Acosta works there, a big friend of the show. And there's a lot of folks like him that work at Synovus. Been in banking since 1983 here locally. This is a big bank with a lot of good local relationships that they built for a long, long time. That's Synovus Bank. Go to synovus.com and flip your personal or your business accounts over to Synovus. Back in 3. Stay with us.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. JP here for my friends at your local Synovus Bank, and I do mean friends, and I do mean local. One of the local managers in Tampa is John Acosta, big fan of the show, and I've known him for over 40 years. He's been in local banking since 1983. You talk about developing relationships. You don't stick around for that long unless you're doing things the right way and have a great reputation, and that's the focus company-wide at Synovus. Big enough to handle any complex international transaction, but small enough to answer the phone when you have an urgent question about your business or personal account. And for personal accounts, they have a very easy app that works great. You can do everything online. And for large or small businesses, you will get that personal touch and services to help build your business, taking your dreams and aspirations from the whiteboard to reality. We can make that happen. Let us show you how. For a get-acquainted meeting to open a business or personal account, just call John or go to synovus.com to find out where your local branch is. JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
Start the new year with a new diamond from the Gold and Diamond Source. It's still engagement season. Where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? Of course, I just got mine there. I'm engaged. You should do the same thing. Let's go. Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country. A literal jewelry superstore with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. And if you have a loved one or a special person in your life who has a birthday this month, maybe you have an anniversary coming up, you can get 15% off the January birthstone, which is garnet, as in garnet and gold for all your Seminoles. Celebrate that mythical national championship. And it's the Gold and Diamond Source's 40th anniversary. For the past 40 years, they have taken pride in offering only natural diamonds formed over billions of years from the Earth's incredible forces. And gold prices are at an all-time high. Now's your chance to turn your jewelry box into a cash machine. It's the perfect time to trade in your broken or unworn pieces for something new and stunning. It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP.
Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here, brought to you by the great folks at the Patio. Had a big crowd this week to watch all the playoff games. Always a great place to watch the games. Fantastic prices, great staff over there, and easy to get to on South McDill. There, 421 South McDill. It's the Patio. Go check them out for all the Bolts games now as we're getting into hockey season. Baseball season coming up. They're looking forward to that. The Raves have made a lot of good moves in the offseason, or not. All right, let's get back to talking about some of the other games before we get to listen to Baker Mayfield. Chiefs Bills, another classic. Bass misses the field goal late. Everybody wants to, wide right, Scott Norwood, all that stuff. Listen, another great football game, another classic. Mahomes goes on the road, gets a big win. The touchdown to Kelsey was, that set the crazies off for sure on a bust from the Bills. But Josh Allen played tremendously well. I don't think you can put anything on him. Once again, the Chiefs defense, they're a good football team, and they know how to win. Tip of the cap to the Chiefs. I didn't think they could get it done.
I mean, we made picks on Friday, and I was just like, man, it doesn't surprise me one bit that the postseason has come, and all of a sudden the Chiefs look like the Chiefs. I mean,
yep.
The game is different. I mean, the Cowboys look like the best team in the regular season, and they can't win in the postseason. The Chiefs are like the exact opposite. Like, I mean, and all this talk about how they have to go on the road for the first time. I mean, listen, Patrick Mahomes is already, like, rank him however you want, one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen in this game. I mean, this is 6 years, 6 AFC championships. I mean, we thought that we would never see another Tom Brady Patriots-esque run, and we're only 6 years into this, but my goodness, we're already heading towards that.
Good thing the Bucs beat him in that Super Bowl.
Mahomes, I mean, Brady was the only quarterback that Burrow beat him once, but Brady beat him twice. I mean, the only active quarterback to beat this guy in the postseason is literally Joe Burrow. Like, that's it. Like, that's the list. And all this talk about the Allen-Mahomes rivalry, I don't know any rivalries where it's as one-sided as this. And, I get it. Josh Allen played well, but he's got time to figure this out, but he almost looks like the Phillip Rivers in this equation. If Burrow and Lamar are battling for the Peyton Manning part, and Mahomes is Brady, Josh Allen is Phillip Rivers right now on the outside looking in.
Poor Bills just cannot get over the hump, man.
God, did you see the fan who was like immediately just crying after that field goal was missed?
Yeah.
I mean, tortured fan base, man.
Bills Mafia.
But the
Bills, sorry for you.
This is the problem with the Bills, though, real quick. And I said this last year was their best shot to really get over the hump, and this year really was it, because you want to talk about things getting difficult. Josh Allen's cap hit the last few years. 2019, $4.8 million. 2020, $5.9. 21, 10.2, 2022, 16.4, and then this year it was 18.6. That jumps up to 47.1 next year.
Ooh.
Okay, and Stephon Diggs, I don't know if you noticed, but there was some regression in his game.
Yeah.
2 safeties, Hyde and Poyer, they're on the wrong side of 30. Von Miller doesn't have it anymore, and he's got he's still on that big contract. The Bills missed their window, I think, at the moment.
I think they did. I could hear that window closing. No way, no doubt about it. The Chiefs averaged 7.7 yards per play after averaging 5.6 yards per play in December.
And this is what McDermott's defense. This is my thing with Sean McDermott. Like, You want to talk about a coach that just can't get your team over the hump? That's his side of the ball, man.
Yeah.
And in big moments, they don't get it done on that side of the ball.
Yeah, as he said after the game, it starts with me, and I take full responsibility. We didn't do enough to win this game. They didn't do enough to impact the game defensively. Yeah, it's true. You know, Josh Allen is not the problem in Buffalo, in my opinion. So, and anybody would love to have him, but you're right. Now that he goes to $46 million, it becomes a hell of a lot tougher to surround him with playmakers, and you got to go find a bunch too. So, the Ravens take a 10-10 halftime game and just turn it into a rout thanks to Lamar Jackson's legs. Just makes play after play after play with his legs, and gave the halftime speech to get everybody riled up. I picked the Ravens before the season. I ain't coming off it. I think they beat Mahomes. The Ravens got home field, right? So they'll once again, Mahomes has to go on the road, which is not a problem for the Chiefs. That might have been a little overblown, to be quite honest. But 2 weeks in a row, it's not as ezy. So we'll see. I think the Ravens. I don't know what the weather's going to be like. I'm not sure it matters. Both of these teams can play in cold weather. But I love what Lamar's doing. Their defense, by the way, shut down C.J. Stroud. Woo! C.J. Stroud just couldn't do anything.
Like the league has pivoted so much to like offense and gotten away from hard-nosed football, and the Ravens just continue to play that brand on defense. It is so fun to watch, and like of all the teams left on left, I mean Baltimore's got the best defense. I know Kansas City's defense is really good too, but man, that defense combined with what Lamar could do, O-line, head coach that's won a Super Bowl before, I mean, they look like a team of destiny. They could be.
And hats off to the 49ers who beat the Packers, and the Packers played well. I thought they could have easily won that game. And I think that's the first time that the 49ers have ever come back under Shanahan in the fourth quarter down 7. Right? I think that's the first time he's ever come back. And
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey, never a bad idea. Never a bad idea.
Do I have to be the one to always defend Mr. Brock Purdy?
I'm a huge fan. I
mean, listen, did Brock Purdy play well in that game? No. In the grand scheme of things, he had a rough night. But you know what I love is that when it really mattered most, that drive, he made some big boy throws, especially the one to Ayuk over the middle of the field. The scramble was really good on his part. And he got it done. At that point, I don't really care what happened in the previous 55 minutes. I cared about what happened on the last 5 minutes when they got the ball back and him going down the field. That's all I cared about. So everybody could jump off. You want to pile on Brock Purdy and everything. I mean, please, spare me.
So 49ers, Lions, what is the number on this? I think I saw it. I think it's going to be a high over under 51, it looks like. And the 49ers are favored. I like the Niners in this game. They're physical, but I think the Lions got a puncher's chance, maybe more than that. They're just I was so impressed with the Lions, how well coached they are, how well they execute. Goff is cool under pressure. Their defense is aggressive. I like so much about what I saw. They got playmakers all over the place. Amon-Ra is he's a clutch receiver, and they go to him on all the big plays. He gets open, he makes plays. Jahmyr Gibbs is just he's a game buster, and Singletary's just fantastic. He's tough to tackle. He's just so good. They're just good at every level. They got a great offensive line. Hutchinson now is adding that edge rush. Their secondary is not great. I get that. And if Debo is hurt, because he didn't play the second half, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing to keep.
That's huge.
The 49ers, when Debo's not in there, he's the one that really changes things.
Yeah,
the way it looks for them.
That was their 3-game losing streak. He was down, and Trent Williams was down too.
Right, and San Francisco, their big weakness is also their secondary stinks. Yeah. It absolutely stinks. So
this might be a high-scoring game. Yeah,
it looks like that
could be
paper.
fun. That could be fun. All right. You want to listen to Baker for a little bit? Do a little post.
We can get him here.
Go back to the Bucs here before we get out of here. This is Baker post game.
Baker, how close did you guys feel like you were in until the last possession?
Absolutely. Yeah, we felt like the first half.
Last possession.
We did a lot of things, self-inflicted mistakes that, whether it was misidentification, some just just not executing like we normally do. And so we felt like we were in it. Going into halftime, obviously, even game, and we felt like we were in it up until the last drive. And so, yeah, I mean, it sucks. I feel like my heart just got ripped out, but football's a complex game, but it's also simple. It comes down to taking care of the ball. And in 2-minute drives like that, when you know you're going to have 4 downs to use, just a bad mistake by me. And it sucks because I know what type of group we've had all year, that we fought to get to this point. We fought to be in that game. We weren't supposed to be here by any measures, but we believed in each other and we fought for it. And so, this one's going to weigh on me for a while.
I think you get the check down there, if I'm not mistaken. I got to go back and look at it, but you check it down there in the beginning, and they're giving you 5-10 yards.
No,
and Rashad can turn that into 20.
We didn't play against Branch. I think he's a hell of a player. I'll be honest, for a young guy, he's a smart guy, obviously very talented, but they're a physical team. They run and chase after the ball. They do a good job playing together and giving you some looks and bailing out and doing different things. But it just comes down to execution and minimizing mistakes in these playoff games, because everybody's going to be doing things they're good at. But it comes down to minimizing mistakes, and I didn't do that today.
Can you talk about getting back in it before half, playing with Mike, even when you fell behind?
Talk about
right
drive before the half.
It's, knowing that you're going to get the ball coming out of halftime, you want to get down and get some sort of points, just momentum. And, we call it double dipping, call it whatever you want. But that was crucial. Mike made a ton of big plays on that drive. Everybody was doing well on that drive, and just to be able to execute, and obviously smart players doing smart things. Chris Godwin knowing the 1-yard rule, being able to pick a guy, and it's not illegal. And that's the type of player he is. Cade obviously running a good route and finishing the drive off. That's big time. And those are the little things we've improved throughout the year, and that's what made this group special. But and then we were hoping to do the same thing in the fourth quarter there on that last 2-minute drive.
I'm sorry if you've already answered this. I'm not just good at navigating traffic as your receivers. What would it mean for you to be able to come back here and finish what you started this year?
Yeah, I love this group. I've said that all year, and it's authentic. I mean that.
What about coming back?
It would mean a lot for me to bring back a lot of key pieces to get this back together, and to get it in year 2 in the system. That you can make huge strides, and so I would love that. Obviously, who knows how it's going to play out, but can't say enough about this organization for the opportunity they gave me this year, and so just thankful, and so hoping it works out.
All right.
Working with Todd this year, unbelievable guy. People say everything they want on the outside, but that guy's even keel. But he's got some jabs that he throws in. Really witty guy, fiery and passionate. He doesn't wear it on his sleeves like I do, but I respect the man. He's a great guy, and enjoyed working with him.
All right, that's Baker Mayfield right there. He's the guy that needs to lead by fire. And I think now 1 year in, you can't come in there and do it right off the bat. It takes you a little while to take control of the team. You got to prove to them who you are, what you are. So now he's proven that. He now has the gravitas a year in to be that vocal leader. I'd like to see them find a couple more, to be honest with you, maybe if it's in free agency or what have you. I'd like to see, maybe somebody in the draft, although it's hard for a rookie to be a leader. Tristan Wirfs is stepping up in that category. I think Antoine Winfield, although he's
Britt definitely was. Did you see him? He usually is Devin White.
KJ Britt,
that pregame huddle. It was KJ Britt.
Yeah, and he brings a lot more authenticity to it than Devin did, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
I was gonna say this about Baker too, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for this. But there's a lot of quarterbacks who fold in the postseason, and I think number 4 for Dallas is the poster boy for that.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield in 4 playoff games, over 1,000 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, only 3 picks, and a quarterback rating over 100. He's low-key one of the better postseason performers going right now in the NFL. Yes, I know the sample size is only 4 games, but not the reason why they lost yesterday.
No question.
Even with the pick at the end, I don't think he was the reason why they lost that game.
Nope. No, they. I think we detailed some of those other. I think it's a little bit of coach. If I have to say, my first take is on it. They played really well. They played really hard. They showed up. I like the game plan offensively. Wasn't thrilled about the game plan defensively. I thought there was too much zone. But again, the Lions are going to beat you either way. If you pressure him, if you blitz, and this is the difference between blitz and pressure, right? If you blitz and you don't get home, he's going to carve you up. If you sit back in zone, he's going to carve you up, and they're going to, you play too high safeties, they're going to run the football on you. That's why this is why the Lions are where they're at. They're a tough out. But I still think you got to play to your strengths a lot more than playing that zone defense and backing up. That's just my personal opinion. You may have gotten beaten either way, but I'd rather go down swinging that way. Offensively, I think it was more just a couple of drops here and there. A couple of misreads were going to happen. You tip your cap to the Lions. They did a hell of a job, and they made the plays when they needed to play. But as you mentioned, Nick, they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. It's just, they did, which has been their bugaboo. So they improved a lot of different stuff. It's hard to argue with it, but this is what happens in the playoffs, man. You're going to have to play your perfect game to win, and you didn't do it. And I'm not saying the Lions were perfect, but they were more so than you, and maybe had a few more weapons than you did. From an offensive line and maybe receiver standpoint.
Yeah.
And running
back. For what it's worth, by the way, because this is just happening in real time, Dave Canales apparently is going to interview a second time for the Panthers head coaching job. So I guess keep an eye on that. I didn't know if he was going to get a second interview or not, but listen, Dave Canales, based on the way he schemed up the last 2 games in the playoffs, maybe teams are going to take a more additional look at him in Carolina, clearly.
And the other part is, who wants that job? I don't think Belichick wants that job. I don't think Harbaugh wants that job. I don't think the top
interviewed for that.
Yeah, I think the top contenders are not going there. Nobody wants that job. So it's going to have to be somebody young and up and coming that's that's not going to get a whole lot of shots at this. And if you're Dave Canales and you get offered the job, you take it. Don't Byron Leftwich it.
It's tough.
You take the opportunity.
It's tough because you think you have such a great situation in Tampa, and we talked about that throughout this show about the continuity and the chance to continue to grow here. But when somebody floats that in front of you and you don't take it, it's like you just never know when it's going to happen.
Byron Leftwich.
And things change quickly. Like, remember 4 years ago when Eric Bieniemy was like, everybody was like, why is nobody hiring Eric Bieniemy? Why is nobody hiring Eric Bieniemy? I don't even see Eric Bieniemy's name come up at all anymore. It's just faded so far to the background. Yeah. That's how quick things change. Yeah.
You could be the darling one year and Canales comes back, Baker Mayfield gets hurt, Kyle Trask goes in and ain't the guy. Suddenly you're scoring 19 points a game again, 18 points a game, and nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. And it has nothing to do with your calls. You just had you got some bad injuries and things didn't come together. Yeah. When things come together like this and you get the opportunity, he'd have to say yes.
Yeah, and I think we both would agree that Dave Canales has head coach potential written all over him. The way he carries himself, his positivity, all those things. It seems like guys love playing for him, and obviously he took some strides as a play caller, but it just feels a little early.
Yeah,
right now. Does. And I would just hate for him to go to the worst situation in football and then just get impatient owner and just get completely swamped like that. I'd hate that for him.
Yeah, but you got to take that money from where he's been head coaching money. It ain't going to be a ton, but it'll be $3 million at least, which, it can set you up, and it's, a guaranteed, whatever it is, 4-year contract or whatever.
Can the Bucs, I mean, I don't know much about contracts, honestly, but can the Bucs, give him a better contract money wise?
They could
do
but
that they wanted
you can't match what they're going to pay.
You can't match what they could do, but obviously, but
they could sweeten the pot, but not to.
And maybe he's got the Baker mentality,
you're not turning down a head coaching job at this point. No freaking way. No way. And I know it's going to be, it's a bad situation. He knows that, but to become a head coach in the NFL, I think about a year ago, he's sitting there in Seattle getting passed over for coordinator's jobs. Somebody takes a chance on him, and now you get a chance to be a head coach. Who knows? I mean, it's a bad situation. I get it, but maybe you're good enough to make a difference in Carolina, and you hit on some draft picks, and who knows what happens? You just don't. So you bet on yourself. You take the money, and you go do it. Because what's worst case? Worst case is you're there for 3 months. Yeah,
there is a worst case.
Yeah, but you look at the money that Frank Reich's counting his money from David Tepper. I can tell you that right now, and he can jump back in as a coordinator anywhere he wants to be, right? So
I mean, hell, this league's already proving that you can fail continuously and still be a candidate. Like even yesterday, like I see agent speak when I see it, and Tom Pelissaro I think put out a report about Patricia's contract is up in the what do you call it with Philadelphia, and that he's going to be a hot name for defensive coordinator openings. I'm like, really?
I don't think so.
We're still doing Matt Patricia in 2023? Really?
No.
Or 2024?
The pencil's time has passed. We haven't talked about the Bolts yet, but they fall 2-1 to Detroit yesterday. We go 0-2 in the 3-1-3. They got outshot 12-5 in the first, 31-10 in the first two periods. So you lose 2-1. Great goal by Edmund and Kucherov again.
Can't score on the power play. I think they're like 1 for 11 in their last 4 games on the road and on the power play.
Yeah, the funny because they were 6 for 6 in the last 2 of the homestand. They get on the road and suddenly their power play changes dramatically. They had 2 in the third that, they pushed well in the third, but you can't give up, 18 shots in the second period.
I do like the way they played the day prior against Buffalo. It was like a classic Lightning game where they got a lead and they just shut things down.
They closed it out. That was a great closeout. I was watching the last, 8 minutes of that game, and boy, Kucherov and Stamkos came in and gave you two shifts where the puck was just down in their end the whole time, and you're protecting a 1-goal lead, and like that's the old Lightning team where Vasi's not having to make great crazy saves in the third because your defensemen are pinching, you're keeping the puck in their zone. Kucherov's making plays, the forecheck is working. That was fantastic, and they closed it out. So, and now you got Philly tomorrow night, who's been they're second in the Metro. They're just playing really, really good hockey. So, I'd like to see you come home with 3 points. That would be awesome. Some way you can steal that one, but that loss to the Red Wings hurts, because that's a team that's gonna, you're gonna be battling for that wild card with, or maybe even the third spot in the division. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the JP Peterson Show. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be getting into much more about the future of the Bucs tomorrow. Scott Reynolds will join us. TJ Reeves, who was the sideline guy, will join us as well on Tuesdays. We always get great perspective from them. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, the JP Peterson Show and FanStream Sports. Also Apple and Spotify and all the places where you can find us. Great job, Nick. Appreciate you, my friend. We will talk to you tomorrow with much more Bucs coverage. Have a great one.